I lived in Belgium for a few years, and I discovered a lot of artists when I was here. My relationship with those artists living here became quite strong, maybe because of my understanding of the country, the moods, and I was very influenced by those artists, Pielart and de Goya. This show is starting with those 4 paintings of Bruges based on the book Bruges-la-Morte, the Rodenbach, where there's those series of photos, and the paintings are based on those photos from that novel. There's around 20-25 photographs in the book of the city with the reflection on the canals. And those photographs were actually painted by Knopf when the book was released. So there was already a strong connection between the book, the photograph, the painting, and this relationship between images and literature, which is very important in doing the symbolism movements. I basically did the same almost exercise that Knopf did when the photographs were released, but I just cropped pretty drastically into the photos. So I only really focused on putting an horizon very high up and basically focusing on the reflection. And that is a connection with my interest in water reflection in my work that I've been doing for quite a while now. And obviously, reflection in water is a theme that is, fairly kind of recurrent in art history. We here was, in this museum was the William de Gouvdenarc painting in Venice. It's kind of great to have a painting of Venice in Bruges, to make that connection, but it's also a painting of Venice that if you don't pay attention and you don't read the title, you will not know that is Venice. I was talking about this idea of the water is an element that is inherently dangerous. We're not supposed to be in it because you can't breathe and you don't know it's cold. You don't see what is inside. So every time you do a reflection with water, there's this world of domesticity and comfort, and there's a fire, there's a meal, and that is the world of like, if I'm in it, I'm probably gonna die. I think a lot of painters, myself included, are very interested of how you see the world into the water. The water, the reflection, is basically a painting made by nature of the landscapes. The landscape itself, it's like a rendering that is constantly moving, becomes abstract. So there's something very connected to the act of painting in water reflection. There's a lot of decay, here, these arches are broken, this roof is broken. You almost have the sense of this water is kind of like eating up the city. It's very hard to not feel that the water here is actually too high. The perspective from the top makes you feel that it's kind of rising. The book is known for the fact that the city itself becomes a character in the novel. It is this weight of the architecture. And also, any building that you see, there's people living in it. So there's like a whole domestic perception that what's happening in it, as the water is the opposite elements. There's only one double portrait in the show, and it of course plays in this idea of the duality. I think it plays with, again, the reflection, the cityscape. They were loosely based on the Bergman movie Persona, where the 2 women that are almost merging into one, which is obviously very directly connected to the Bruges-la-Morte and Vertigo, between his widow and the woman that is she and the ghost in Vertigo. All those kind of characters start to kind of merge into one and they separate. The fish are very recent. It started with my discovering of Renoir and his series of dead fish paintings that he did at the end of his life. And he painted around 50 dead fish paintings, and 2/3 of this painting he made it in between 1914 and 1919, 1918. And I find it amazing that he did this series of painting at the end of his life when basically 2 hours away from him there's people dying by the tens of thousands a day. The second one was looking at the Goya painting he did like very few still lifes. I think there's 7 still lifes. Those are very clearly a metaphor of, like basically his subject of suffering and terror and the Civil War, and his paintings of the meat and the dead fish are clearly like connected to dead bodies. The term still life, there's clearly this duality in one word. It's one of those kind of big way of describing time and death. The connection between all those subjects is this moment where those two aspects are like kind of merging into the stillness. The spiderweb are exactly that. They are built in the beginning of the nights, and this is very complex structure. I also wanted to point out that between William de Gouvdenarc and actually Spielart and Knopf, they all used pastel, which is obviously my medium of choice, and that always talk about how this medium comes with very specific approach to the subject. And there's an inherent fragility and stillness to the medium, and you will not want to use pastel to be very loud. Quietness, stillness, and almost a meditative mood was always something that I really wanted to explore and channel in the work. Bright colors are seen as something a little louder, but the compositions, and when I do paint trees, I don't put any animals or any humans in it. I always trying to go towards this meditative silence and quiet space.